Good afternoon, everyone. Wait a brand minute. Coming to you live from quarantine headquarters. Nick F. Nelson, brandpreneur. Wait a brand minute. This is where we have some time together, where I get a chance to talk to you, unfiltered, just me and you, about your brand. Wait a brand minute. If you can hear me, give me a shout. Streaming both to LinkedIn and Facebook. Both of you matter. Let me know if you're team live or team replay. Wait a brand minute. Eugenia, I see you. Bonita, I see you. Hello, good afternoon to you. Good afternoon. Welcome to Wait a Brand Minute live from quarantine headquarters. All this week we have been focused and talking about the art of story and storytelling. Storytelling is very important when it comes to your brand because it is your superpower. It's the thing that makes you you and makes you unique. There are many people that do what you do, right? But the thing that helps to differentiate you from everybody is your journey, right? What I'm giving you today is permission to tell your story. I am making an argument that many professional people debate me on. Today is my argument, and I want to share that with you. But before we go forward, I want to make certain that I am paying attention to people on both sides. Jamie, how are you? Zachary, I see you. Gail, thank you. Thank you so much. You can hear me wonderful. All right, let's go ahead and go into it. Your story. Before we do that, let me know if your team live, team replay, both teams matter, okay? Story. Story is something that we've been sharing since the beginning of time. Whether or not we were Egyptian days and it would be hieroglyphics on a wall, or it is a time in which there was oral storytelling before there was even written, right? Story is one of those things that have captivated and that has helped to inspire, encourage, that has helped to establish legacy, that have established and helped us understand where we come from culturally and as a people. Story is one of those things that we cherish, even to this day. We wouldn't go to the movies if we didn't like a good story. We wouldn't watch television programs if we didn't like a good story. We wouldn't listen to that crazy uncle, right? Or that crazy aunt as much as we did if we didn't love their stories and want them to talk to us about their stories so much. So story is our superpower, and it's one that I want to encourage you to leverage. Zachary, team live, thank you. Tanika, team live, hey, how are you doing? So let's talk about your story. Stories fundamentally have a beginning, they have a middle, and they have an end. Any story, beginning, middle, and end. That is the very formation of what a story is. The beginning sets it up, right? The beginning helps to establish characters, it establishes location, it establishes the plot, right? The middle is the point where story becomes interesting, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then ultimately, on the backside, there is an end. It doesn't necessarily have to be the end of the full story, but in your instance, it could be the end of a chapter. the end of a phase of life. I tell people that I'm in the third quarter of life, right? In the third quarter of life, I treat it a certain way, but I've had other endings, right? So I'm in the middle of this part or this chapter of this story. Many of you are in various chapters and forms and areas of life, right? But we've all experienced a beginning, a middle, and that's what story is. 1 second while I say hello to people on my Facebook side. Hey, Sonia, my good friend. Sabrina, thank you so much for joining. I miss you. And Kadia Saint Fleur. I hope I didn't butcher your name too bad. And on this side, Myosha, thank you for joining us. So, beginning, middle, and end. That's what a story is all about. As you tell your story, think of it in that capacity, but also think about the key characters, the key places, the key moments within story. Your story. They're going to be specific things that make you who you are. They're going to be specific instances, specific um, items that happened in life that really turned you into the person that you are, certain people that have made you who you are. You have to think about those things because they not only defined you then, they define you now. Sometimes you really don't even know it unless you think about it. The biggest things that define you are your struggles. Any story that's a good story has the struggle story, right? It is that part of the story where there is conflict, where there's disappointment, where there's death, disease, disaster. It is the part of that story that the main character comes to a crossroad. They come to a point where they have to make a decision, the red pill or the blue pill, right? But it becomes a critical part of the story because it shows what a person's made of. There's something about struggle. Either you succumb to struggle or it causes you to flourish. It causes you to grow. It causes you to stretch yourself. It causes you to do stuff that you never even knew that you could do yourself. That's the power of struggle. Now, let me tell you something. Far too often, you don't tell your struggle story. Um, Social media is funny. We present ourselves as perfect. People sometimes think that you are unobtainable because you present yourself so perfect. Your story is not only about you, but story inspires. You know, we've been watching this documentary, The Last Dance, America has, and it is an inspirational story, but it tells the story from one perspective and one lens, mind you, but it ain't all a good story, right? There's struggle. Struggle is what defines us and helps to build character and helps to build tenacity and helps to build who you are. Scott Jordan, my friend, thank you for joining. Jamie Brown, I see you watching on Facebook. Thank you for joining. And Azima, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you as well. So let's talk about it. One of the biggest franchises on this planet is Marvel. Um, Many of you have businesses, you work for a corporation or you work for a corporation with a side hustle. And I need you to understand too many of you hide behind things, right? You hide behind this entity or that entity. You hide behind um, your personal business or the business that you represent, but you don't bring you to the forefront. Marvel is one of the biggest brands on this earth built around story. But here's the key. Nobody cares about Marvel, right? Marvel is just a name. But Marvel is a brand that is built on the backs of people. People buy into people. They don't buy in to brands. People buy into people. They don't buy into brands. I don't care what corporation you work for. It's the people that make that brand. I don't care what entrepreneur you've ever seen with a business. It's that person himself or herself and the people that work for them that make up that brand. Brands are just a name, but it's the people, right? Uber is a name, but it's that driver that can either give you a good experience or a bad experience. Apple is just a name, but it's either your experience when you go in to the store or your experience in dealing with the people in there that make all the difference, right? People make all the difference. So with Marvel, you have Iron Man who has the right. You have Thor who has his hammer, right? You have Black Panther. Black Panther was a cultural phenomenon. It was about the story and what that story represented culturally that drove that to be a $1 billion franchise all by itself, not Marvel. Marvel was the brand, it was a conduit, but it was Black Panther and his story. Mind you, a struggle story that made all the difference in the world. People buy into people, they don't buy in to brands. Tell your story. Your story is what will get people to buy into whatever it is you might be selling. If you're selling yourself internally within this organization, if you're selling yourself externally outside of an organization, or if you're selling your business, whatever it is you're selling, because yes, I don't want you to think, well, Nick, I'm not selling anything. If you don't think you're selling something, then you have a bigger brand problem. Yes, you are. You're selling yourself. You sell yourself every single day. Every touch point, every interaction, every moment a person is in front of you, they are establishing an opinion. Do I want to do business with you? Business isn't always transactional from a finance perspective. But do I believe in you? Would I recommend you to others? Do I want to present this opportunity that I know about that you don't know about to you? Do I feel that you would handle it with care? Do I think you will do a good job? Do I think your character is in place? Do I feel that you are ethical? Yes, you are selling something, and your story helps to sell you. Now, let's talk about story. Last year sometime, or it might have been a couple of years ago, I can't remember. um I did a post where I talked about all my life I've been an F student. Yes, I am a failure. You are looking at a professional failure. I've been a failure my entire life, but let me tell you what I mean by an F student. First I tried F, then I failed F. Then I got frustrated F. But ultimately, I figured it out. That's the journey of an F student. If you can hear my voice, guess what? You too are an F student. All of you have tried something that you've failed at, that you've been frustrated about, that has literally just caused you to pull your hair off your head if you have it, right? But you have that story where, you know what, I figured it out. That is the story of every great business professional, every great entrepreneur, anybody who's done anything great in this world has that story. Now, the problem is, again, as I stated, far too often we don't tell that story. We don't tell it. We don't let people in. We feel it's unprofessional, right? We feel that if I tell my story, that people will think less of me, that they will think that I am not knowledgeable and that I am not an expert. This is what I hear from my clients, people just like yourself, right? But failure is what's defined the greatest or some of the most successful people of our lifetime. That's because, and write this in your notes in big bold letters and highlight it. Failure is a prerequisite for greatness. It is impossible for you to be great unless you have failed. I'm going to let y'all sink on that for a second. Hey, Kim Minor, I appreciate you for joining. Lynn Shelton, you still failing. So am I, right? And that's the thing about it. As long as you're seeking greatness, you will always fail. The minute you know you're not seeking greatness is the minute you stop failing. Sync on that for also. Roberta, I thank you for joining. Crystal Spellman, thank you for watching. Beverly Elder, thank you for watching. Jamie, fist bump back to you, brother. Think about it. Oprah, before she was right? She's failed so many times, man. You know, before she was a host of the Oprah Winfrey Show, prior to then, you know, someone told her, you will never succeed, right, at being a reporter, right? She took that drive and she drove it into greatness. Elon Musk, man, he almost went bankrupt trying to, you know, put rockets in the sky with SpaceX. One of the wealthiest people in this world. Most of us know the Diddy story, right? He got fired from Uptown Records, right? And that's why Andre Harrell has been such an inspiration to him. Sometimes people got to let you go, right? For you to just understand this is what I wasn't called to do anyway. So that job that has ever let you go, those people that have ever let you go, you got to think, okay, well, you know what? I was let go for a reason. Maybe there's a greater story that needs to be told. Tell that story. Understand it. First, I tried. Then I failed. Then I got frustrated. Then I figured it out. Jordan, we saw that with The Last Dance. Failure. Steve Jobs, failure, right? Kevin Hart, failure. But if you look at it, all of these individuals we consider to be great in their respective areas, in their respective fields, either in entertainment, sports, business, right? The one thing that connects them all is failure. Failure is a prerequisite to greatness. I know this because I talk about failure. You know, going back, first I tried, then I failed, then I got frustrated, then I figured it out. In 2017, I left my agency that I founded, you know, and worked on with my business partner Terrell for like 17 years, and found myself in 2017 moving in a new direction, and ended up leaving. And so I said, okay, I'm going to start something new. I started something new from scratch. I'm known as one thing, right? But now I'm shifting into another. And when you leave something, or when something leaves you, there has to be a mourning period, right? There has to be a period where you let it all sink in and just be quiet, right? Far too often, we don't give ourselves that time to mourn. Anytime there's a big shift in life, in your story, there is a mourning period. There's that period where you're like, did I make the right move? Did I, you know, could I have done something differently? Is this right? You know, and so I had my mourning period. It wasn't a long mourning period, and it shouldn't be. It's just enough time for you to get your thoughts together. Then you try. First, I tried, right? Here I am, was once known as an entertainment marketer, LA, New York, red carpets. Now I'm this cat that's lugging, you know, camera equipment around, taking pictures of folk. People thought I was an absolute lunatic. I know some of y'all did, and that's fine. People aren't always going to understand your vision. They're not always going to understand what it is you're doing. It's not for them to understand. It's for you and him to understand. And once the two of you are in alignment, then you move forward and you go. So did that. It was cool, but I got real grown-up bills and it just wasn't covering it all. So it required me to just, burn some cash to make it happen. I felt that I was failing, right? At that particular point in time, after a year or so of doing this and being frustrated, I went to a mentor and I'm like, okay, I need help. I need to try to figure this out because I know this is something bigger here. He gave me some advice in terms of how to position myself, leverage it as a service offering. Ultimately, I leverage that advice when you're in a change, when you're in a season, when you're doing stuff. Always seek wise counsel. Seek counsel from people that have done it and have been down your path. Seek counsel from people who have, guess what, failed. My mentor told me, Nick, before I was where I am, one of the top CEOs in Atlanta, I was on the verge of bankruptcy. You would never know that today. You would never know it. But he tells that story. Why? Because anyone who is trying to be great has failed. Why? Failure is a prerequisite for greatness. But you don't just stay in the point of frustration. Those people who just stay in the point of frustration never move. They break their toys. They break people. They break themselves, and then they fall off. Right? You. It's okay to be frustrated, but it's not okay to stay frustrated. First, I tried, then I failed, then I got frustrated. Now, figuring it out. Did he figure it out? Did he found the Notorious B.I.G.? He founded Bad Boy Records. He founded Mary J. Blige. You know the rest of the story. Elon Musk, he figured it out. Got Tesla going, popping. Oprah, she figured it out. She still has failed, though. You remember Beloved? You remember that movie that didn't do anything at the box office? You remember when the Oprah Winfrey Network first came out and it was trash and nobody was watching and she was burning money left and right? Just because you figure out one thing doesn't mean that your journey of failure stops. You will always be failing throughout the course of life, right? But it's a process. You try, you fail, you get frustrated, then ultimately you figure it out. You figure it out because you're smart. You figure it out because you're driven. You figure it out because not figuring it out is not an option. You got to figure it out, right? Because other people are depending upon you. You are depending upon you. And your legacy of greatness is depending upon you. And it's built on, guess what? It's built largely on your failure. Robert, thank you for joining. AJ, thank you for joining, my brother. Maxine, I call it my valley period. Let me tell you something. What did grandma used to say, Maxine? Either you going into a storm, in a storm, or coming out of a storm, right? That's all that is. Now, on my Facebook side, um, Ishmael, this nails it. I've been pondering this as a father to my children. Thanks for the confirmation. You're welcome, my brother. Tom Cummings, my man, thank you for joining me. So failure is all a part of the process. You, every last one of you who can hear my voice, each and every last one of you, you are an absolute, unequivocal, unapologetic failure. Thus, you qualify for greatness. So, you failed at marriage. You failed with your children. You failed at your job. You failed at health. You failed at relationships. You've failed yourself. You are an absolute, unequivocal failure. Every last one of you. Therefore, you qualify for greatness. First, I tried, then I failed, then I got frustrated, then I figured it out. Figuring it out for me was figuring out what problem am I solving, and then positioning it in a way and leveraging all the superpowers that I have to create a thing. Oftentimes, your superpowers are the things that you have tossed aside. You're thinking, it makes no sense. I don't need to, do it. You let other people get in your head and tell you, why are you doing that? That makes no sense, right? Your superpowers are the things that people have told you your entire life that you're good at and you take for granted. Your superpowers are those things that come easy to you and you don't know why. Your superpowers are those things that you wonder, wow, that's I think that's pretty good, right? Um some of you have a gift of voice you're not using because you're not saying anything. All you're doing is, I just do the work. I just do the work. I'm a background person. You're not leveraging your superpower. Some of you have a gift of working with other people and teaching that you're not leveraged. Well, you know what? I'm not a teacher. Me, right? I'm not a teacher, right? That's for other folk. You're not leveraging your superpower. It's those things that you do, and you know in the back of your head, I need to be doing this. I need to be leveraging this some way, shape, or form. That's your superpower, right? It's the thing that makes you different from other people. You got to think, now that we're distant, you have so many different people that are trying to sell you so many different things in so many different ways. And you are forgettable. I don't care how great you are at what you do. If you don't tell your story and if you don't remind people and show them how great you are, people will think that you're mediocre until you show them differently. They will assume you're just like everybody else until you show them that I'm not. That is the story of any superhero. Peter Parker, right? Spider-Man. He was just an average cat, right? People thought he was an average cat until they found out he was Spider-Man. Superman, just an average reporter. People thought he was an average reporter. He presented himself as an average reporter until he showed, I'm Superman, right? Any superhero that you can think of, the world saw them as average until they presented themselves differently. Your superpowers present you differently. Show them off. It doesn't make you arrogant. It doesn't show that you don't have humility because you do. What it does, it shows your greatness. But within that greatness resides failure. And your failure is your superpower. Mr. Herman, thank you. Figuring it out is what it's all about. Thank you for teaching us on this. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, my brother. Glenn, thank you. Lewis, great advice. Always seek counsel. Thank you. It can be scary to ask for counsel when it feels like you're raising a red flag and admitting to be a failure. Let me tell you something. You have to admit failure, right? Because that's being real with yourself. It's okay to admit failure, right? Some people gonna talk about you and they're gonna call you a failure behind your back anyway. So you might as well admit it to yourself, but don't stay there, right? Keep moving, keep growing, and ultimately figure it out because everything is figure outable. Sonia, over on Facebook, thank you for joining. And Nico, thank you for joining me on Facebook also. So In closing, Your Honor, if we were in a courtroom, your story is the most remarkable thing you own that you are not telling. It is the most impactful tool in your tool belt that you are not using that can fix your life, that can fix the life of others. And I encourage you to tell it, not just the good stuff, but also the struggle, because it's the struggle that ultimately defines who you are, makes you great, and makes you a brand. Because every brand has an origin story, and many, if not most, if not all brands have failed at one point in time. Tiffany, thank you for helping us reframing the power of failure. Floyd, I also tell my son, fall early. Nothing great comes easily. Fail early. Failing early eliminates fear. Get as many failures out of the way so your greatness can shine. My brother, you keep on telling you, and that's the other thing. We have to tell our children this. And I'm so glad you said that, man. You gotta let children understand that failure is okay, right? You're not you're not awkward if you fail. You're no less important if you fail. It's all a part of the process. I'm so glad you thought about that, man. Thank you. I'm going to have to mourn right quick for feeling like it was wrong to be failing while trying to fly. Thanks, Nick. Hey, man, let me tell you that mourning period is real, right? Because when you work hard at something and it doesn't work out in your favor, it's okay to feel frustrated. It's okay to get mad as hell, but it ain't okay to stay that way. It ain't okay to break people and break the ones around you, right? Um, get in your closet, figure it out. All right. Thank you so much, Jamie. Speak truth, power. Ask oneself, how could success exist if there is no failure? Jamie, you're absolutely right. That's all I'm saying. You get it. I've made my case. Now I'm awaiting the verdict. And the verdict is, are you going to tell your story? Um, right now, we're taking applications for something that I'm doing right now and will be doing. It's called Brandline. Brandline is the intersection of Greek culture and personal branding, and it is where I work one-on-one and as a group with people, and we help you to build your brand from zero to brand in 30 days. It ain't got to take all day, shouldn't take all day, shouldn't take a whole lot of time, but it's where we focus, and I work one-on-one with you. I tell people I'm your Quincy Jones and you are my Michael Jackson. And we work in collaboration to produce music that is amazing and that will impact lives. And that music is your brand, right? You get a chance to network and work with other people so you don't feel like you're isolated, alone, and or awkward. And you get the honest truth, something that your friends and your family, God bless their souls, will not give you because they want to stay your friend and they want to stay your family, right? So you work with others and we give you honest opinions in terms of how you're presenting yourself online, offline, and give you a strategy and ultimately help you to establish a landing page that is your own, update your social media profiles, etc., and get you posting and saying something. Because most of you, dare I say, 80% of you don't say a mumbling word. So you will learn how to edit from your phone. You will learn how to get comfortable on camera, and you will learn how to do exactly what I am doing because it works and people need to hear your voice. And the way you tell your story nowadays is through content. Content is images, is words, and is video. And you will learn how to do all of them on Brandline, where I will serve as your dean of membership intake. So brandpreneur.com/brandline. I hope you apply for our June cohort, which starts June the 2nd. So you are remarkable. You are a superhero. You're a superhero in your own right. Now you got to go out there and you got to show people how remarkable you are. And part of showing people how remarkable you are is telling your story. And I ain't just talking about the good parts. I'm talking about you ain't got to tell people everything, right? They don't need to know all your business, but they need to know the part where I tried, I failed, I got frustrated, but ultimately I figured it out. So you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for participating with Way to Brand Minute. That's all I got. I just wanted to give you some encouragement, I say, and tell your story. Tell it often. Your story is your superpower. Have a great day. Be blessed. Daryl, thank you so much, man. Y'all head over to Daryl's live. He typically does one at 4 o'clock on LinkedIn. Head over there right now. Ursuline, thank you. Sherry, thank you. We appreciate you. For everybody who's watching me on Facebook, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Wait a brand minute. Maxine, you're my sister from another mister. Wait a brand minute. Floyd, thank you. Come on, Ape, walk with me. Come on, Alpha, walk with me one time. Come on. Wait a brand minute. Glenn, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Lakeisha, yep. Tiffany, if you don't run your mouth, Tiffany Simpson, I'ma know something. Wait a brand minute.